The cold metal of the hangar echoed with the silent desperation of humanity's last hope. Major Park Ji-won walked between rows of aging Mosquito-class bombers, her fingers tracing the worn-out hull of the nearest aircraft. Outside, the sky burned, with the remnants of countless battles, alien ships casting long shadows over what remained of Earth's defense perimeter. These aircraft were relics, museum pieces that most military commanders had written off as useless. Abandoned by technology, forgotten by strategy, they were the unwanted children of a dying military machine. But Ji-won saw something different. Where others saw obsolescence, she recognized potential. The invasion had come suddenly. Massive, alien ships appeared without warning, their technology so advanced it made human weapons look like primitive toys. Major cities disappeared in moments. Entire continents went dark. Billions died in the first wave, and humanity was pushed to the very edge of extinction. Lieutenant Kim Dae-hyun approached, his flight suit worn and patched. "We have 6 operational Mosquito bombers left," he reported, his voice flat and emotionless. Years of constant warfare had stripped away any romantic notions of heroism. Ji-won nodded, her eyes scanning the aircraft. Each bomber told a story of survival. Patchworked hulls, jury-rigged systems, and modified weapons spoke of desperate ingenuity. These were not pristine military machines, but survivors, just like the humans who flew them. Navigator Lee Sung-min entered the hangar, bringing a datapad with the latest reconnaissance information. The alien fleet, known simply as the destroyers, had established multiple staging points around Earth's orbit. Their technology was so advanced that conventional human defenses had been obliterated within weeks of the initial invasion. "Our radar systems are barely functional," Sung-min reported. "We're running on backup generators and recycled communication equipment." Ji-won understood the implications. They were fighting with scraps against a technological monster that could annihilate entire planetary systems with a single pulse of energy. Traditional military doctrine was useless. Conventional weapons were nothing more than irritants to the alien fleet. But something burned within her. A determination that went beyond military training. A human spirit that refused to accept defeat. The Mosquito bombers were designed decades ago as reconnaissance aircraft. Light, fast, and incredibly maneuverable. They were never meant for direct combat, especially not against a technologically superior alien force. But in war, necessity breeds innovation. Dae-hyun began explaining modifications they had made, experimental electromagnetic pulse generators salvaged from old research facilities, improvised weapon systems cobbled together from communication equipment and industrial lasers. Each modification was a testament to human creativity. "We're essentially flying death traps," Dae-hyun said with a slight smile. "But they're our death traps." Ji-won reviewed the tactical maps. The alien fleet had predictable movement patterns, controlled by complex artificial intelligence systems. These systems were designed for efficiency, for calculated risk management. They understood probability, statistics, and mathematical models of warfare. What they couldn't understand was human unpredictability. A sudden alarm broke the tension. Alien scout ships were approaching Earth's remaining defensive perimeter. Most military commanders would have ordered a full retreat, but Ji-won saw an opportunity. "Prepare the Mosquito squadron," she ordered. "We're going to show these aliens something they've never seen before." The hangar burst into controlled chaos. Mechanics rushed to final system checks. Pilots donned their flight suits. Weapons were loaded not with precision but with desperate hope. Ji-won looked at her team. They were not the best. They were not the most technologically advanced. They were simply human, with all the messy, unpredictable potential that entailed as. The first Mosquito bomber's engine roared to life. Something shifted in the atmosphere. It wasn't just a machine preparing for battle. It was humanity's last defiant scream against extinction. The aliens were about to learn a crucial lesson. Sometimes, the most dangerous weapon is not the most advanced technology, but the spirit of those who refuse to be conquered. The hangar doors opened. 6 aging bombers rolled out, their patches and modifications a testament to human survival. Against the backdrop of burning skies and alien ships, they looked both fragile and terrifyingly beautiful. The research facility was a mess of tangled wires and broken equipment. Major Park Ji-won stood in the center, surrounded by technical specialists who looked more like scavengers than scientists. Their latest project was both brilliant and desperate. Kang Hyuk, a thin engineer with sharp eyes, held up a modified circuit board. "We can turn these old communication systems into weapons," he explained, his fingers moving quickly across the damaged equipment. The room was filled with salvaged technology, computer parts, satellite fragments, and broken communication devices. Their goal was simple but impossible: find a way to disable the alien fleet's advanced defensive systems. The destroyers had technology that could detect and neutralize traditional weapons before they even came close. Their energy shields were like invisible fortresses, stopping everything humans had tried so far. Outside the facility's reinforced windows, the sky remained a constant battlefield. Alien ships moved like silent predators, their metallic surfaces reflecting the burning horizon. Humanity was losing, and everyone knew it. "We need to think differently," Ji-won said, studying the complex diagrams scattered across several damaged screens. Traditional military thinking had already failed. They needed something completely unexpected. Choi Yoonbi, the tactical analyst, began explaining her research. The alien systems were perfect, too perfect. They relied completely on mathematical predictions and advanced algorithms. They calculated every possible scenario, every potential threat, but they had one fundamental weakness. They couldn't understand randomness. Human unpredictability was their secret weapon. Kang started connecting different pieces of equipment: an old satellite communication array, a damaged radar system, and some experimental electromagnetic pulse generators. To any professional military engineer, it would look like complete nonsense. To the team, it was hope. "We're going to create interference," Hyuk explained. "Not just normal interference, but something so chaotic that their systems can't predict our movements." They worked for days without proper rest. Food was scarce, equipment was limited, but their determination never wavered. Each modification was a small rebellion against the alien technology that threatened to destroy everything. The Mosquito bombers were being transformed. What were once simple reconnaissance aircraft were becoming something entirely different. Experimental systems were integrated into their basic structure. Old communication equipment was rewired to create electromagnetic pulse generators. "These bombers will become ghosts," Yoonbi said, her fingers tracing the modified aircraft schematics. "Invisible to their tracking systems, capable of striking where they least expect." Ji-won understood the risks. These modifications were dangerous. The bombers might fall apart mid-flight. The experimental systems could fail at any moment, but they had no other choice. Standard military equipment had already proven useless against the alien fleet. One evening, as the team worked under flickering emergency lights, Hyuk made a breakthrough. By combining random signal patterns and using outdated communication protocols, they could create a type of electronic noise that the alien systems couldn't filter or predict. "It's like speaking a language they don't understand," he explained, showing complex mathematical models that looked more like abstract art than military strategy. The team worked with a mixture of scientific precision and desperate creativity. They weren't just modifying equipment, they were rewriting the rules of technological warfare. Each adjustment was a small act of human defiance against a seemingly invincible enemy. Ji-won watched her team. They were tired, hungry, but their eyes burned with something more powerful than technology: hope. They represented humanity's last chance, not through superior firepower, but through unexpected creativity. As the first modified Mosquito bomber was prepared for testing, a strange silence fell over the facility. This was more than a military mission. This was a statement. Humans would not go quietly. They would fight with everything they had, even if all they possessed were broken machines and unbreakable spirit. Jupiter's massive form loomed in the background, a silent witness to humanity's most desperate battle. The alien fleet spread across the solar system like a metallic plague, their ships gleaming with technology so advanced it seemed almost magical. Major Park Ji-won's squadron of 6 modified Mosquito bombers approached the massive alien formation. Lieutenant Kim Dae-hyun's voice crackled through the communication system. "Interference generators are active. We're about to become ghosts." The first wave of alien tracking systems began scanning. Normally, such advanced technology would instantly detect and destroy any incoming threat. But these weren't normal circumstances. The Mosquito bombers moved with an unpredictability that defied mathematical calculation. Sergeant Yoon Ji-hoon piloted, his bomber like a wild animal making movements that no logical system could predict. One moment he would dive, the next he would climb, then suddenly shift sideways. It was chaos. Beautiful, terrifying chaos. The alien ships began to react, but something was wrong. Their tracking systems couldn't lock onto the human aircraft. The experimental interference generators worked perfectly, creating electronic noise that confused even the most advanced targeting computers. Ji-won's voice remained calm. "Target the communication nodes. Disable their network, not their ships." Each bomber carried a specially designed electromagnetic pulse weapon. These weren't traditional missiles or energy weapons. They were carefully crafted electronic disruption devices that would turn the aliens' greatest strength into their ultimate weakness. The first pulse hit a massive alien communication ship. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, the ship's systems began to fail. Lights flickered, defensive shields dropped. It was like watching a complex machine slowly die. Alien command structures relied completely on instantaneous communication. When one node failed, it created a cascade of confusion. Their perfect mathematical approach to warfare suddenly became a weakness. Dae-hyun's bomber weaved between massive alien ships. "They can't track us," he reported, a hint of excitement in his voice. "We're moving like shadows." The battle wasn't about destruction. It was about disruption. Each pulse created a small failure in the alien network. One communication node, then another, then another. It was like pulling threads from a complex fabric, watching it slowly unravel. Ji-hoon's bomber took a direct hit. For a moment, it seemed, he was finished. But the modified aircraft absorbed the damage, its experimental shielding absorbing energy that would have instantly destroyed a traditional spacecraft. "I'm still flying," Ji-hoon reported, his voice calm despite the damage. The alien fleet began to panic. Their perfect mathematical models couldn't account for this level of randomness. How could they fight an enemy that didn't follow any predictable pattern? Ji-won watched the battle unfold. This wasn't just a military engagement. This was a demonstration of human creativity. Where the aliens had perfect technology, humans had unpredictability. Where the aliens had calculated risk, humans had desperate innovation. Another communication node failed. Then another. The alien fleet's coordination began to break down. Ships that once moved with perfect synchronization now seemed confused, isolated, vulnerable. "Keep moving," Ji-won ordered. "Don't give them a chance to adapt." The Mosquito bombers danced between massive alien ships. They were small, almost insignificant compared to the technological monsters surrounding them. But they moved with a life of their own, striking precisely where the aliens least expected. As the battle continued, something unexpected happened. The aliens began to retreat. Not because they were destroyed, but because they couldn't understand the threat. Their perfect systems had been rendered useless by human unpredictability. Jupiter's massive form continued to watch, indifferent to the battle happening against its backdrop. Humanity had just proven something crucial. Technology is nothing without the ability to adapt, to be random, to be truly alive. The 6 Mosquito bombers returned, damaged but victorious. They weren't just aircraft anymore. They were a symbol of human survival, of the spirit that refused to be conquered by cold, mathematical precision. Ji-won looked at her team. They were tired, wounded, but their eyes burned with something more, powerful than any technology: hope. The alien command ship hung in space like a massive metal nightmare. Its size dwarfed everything around it, a testament to technological superiority that had crushed countless civilizations. Major Park Ji-won knew this mission would likely be her last. Her remaining squadron consisted of 3 damaged Mosquito bombers. Each aircraft was more patch and wire than original metal, held together by desperate engineering and human determination. The communication systems were failing. Fuel was critically low. Their chances of survival were practically zero. "This is a one-way mission," Ji-won announced through the damaged communication system. No one argued. No one needed to. Lieutenant Kim Dae-hyun's bomber had taken significant damage during the previous battle. Its left wing was partially torn, electrical systems sparking intermittently. But somehow, impossibly, it still flew. He checked his experimental pulse generators one last time. The alien command ship represented the central nervous system of the entire invasion fleet. Destroying it would create total chaos in their communication network, but reaching it would be suicide. The ship was surrounded by multiple defensive layers that had obliterated entire planetary defense systems. Ji-won's tactical display showed impossible odds. Thousands of defensive weapons systems, energy shields that could vaporize incoming threats instantly. Mathematical probability suggested their mission had a 0.001% chance of success. Humanity had always been good at beating impossible odds. "We go in together," Ji-won ordered, "and we create maximum disruption." The 3 bombers approached like wounded predators. Their movement was erratic, unpredictable. Where traditional military doctrine would suggest a direct approach, they weaved, dropped, climbed, and shifted in patterns that defied logical tracking. Dae-hyun's damaged bomber took the first wave of defensive fire. Its experimental shielding absorbed incredible amounts of energy, buying precious seconds for the other 2 aircraft. The ship's hull glowed red-hot, systems failing, but still moving. "I'm creating a path," Dae-hyun reported, his voice calm. Everyone understood what that meant. He was sacrificing himself to allow the others a chance. His bomber suddenly accelerated directly into the most concentrated defensive position. Alien weapons converged on his single aircraft, creating a massive energy explosion that temporarily blinded tracking systems. In that moment of confusion, Ji-won's bomber slipped through. The interior of the alien command ship was a maze of complex systems. Biological-technological hybrid interfaces that looked more like living organisms than machinery. Ji-won's bomber flew deeper, each movement calculated to avoid detection. Her target wasn't destruction. It was total communication disruption. The experimental pulse generators began their work. Layer after layer of alien communication networks began to fail. It was like watching a complex organism slowly die, its neural networks collapsing from within. Ji-won knew she wouldn't survive. The mission was never about individual survival. It was about giving humanity a chance. Her bomber's systems began to fail. Hull integrity was dropping. Oxygen levels were critically low, but she had reached the central communication core. "Mission accomplished," she reported simply. The pulse that followed was unlike anything the aliens had ever experienced. It wasn't just an electromagnetic disruption. It was a complete systemic collapse triggered by something their perfect mathematical models could never predict: human sacrifice. The command ship began to break apart. Massive sections separated, communication systems failing catastrophically. An entire invasion fleet was being rendered helpless by a single desperate human mission. As her bomber was consumed by internal explosions, Ji-won thought about Earth, about the billions who had died, about the small chance of survival she was creating. Her last transmission was simple: for humanity. The alien command ship erupted in a massive explosion that could be seen across multiple star systems. 3 small Mosquito bombers had just changed the course of an entire galactic conflict. Humanity had won, not through superior technology, but through something far more powerful: an unbreakable spirit that refused to be conquered. 20 years after the Great Battle, Earth looked different. The scars of invasion remained, but hope had replaced fear. In the Central Museum of New Seoul, A single Mosquito bomber stood as a reminder of humanity's greatest moment. Children gathered around, the damaged aircraft, their eyes wide with wonder. Museum guides told the story of Major Park Ji-won and her squadron, the pilots who changed everything. The Galactic Council meeting was unlike any previous gathering. Representatives from dozens of alien civilizations sat in a massive circular chamber. Holographic displays showed historical records of the human victory. Most alien species looked confused, struggling to understand how a seemingly primitive civilization had defeated the most advanced invasion force in known history. An elder representative from the Crystalline Collective spoke first. Humans demonstrated a capability we cannot comprehend, he said, his translucent form flickering. They defeated us through something beyond technology, through spirit. Survivors from the original mission were rare. Lieutenant Kim Dae-hyun's daughter, now a military historian, presented detailed records of the battle. She showed how 6 damaged bombers had essentially destroyed an entire invasion fleet that had conquered hundreds of planetary systems. The museum display told a complex story. Photographs of the original team were placed alongside technical diagrams of their modified aircraft. Each image spoke of desperate innovation. Patches of different metals showed how they had rebuilt their machines. Improvised electronic systems demonstrated their creative approach to warfare. Military academies across multiple planets now studied the Mosquito strategy, a new approach to conflict that emphasized adaptability over pure technological superiority. Young cadets learned about randomness, about the power of unexpected movement, about turning weakness into strength. One holographic display showed Major Ji-won's final mission. Her calm voice during the most desperate moments became legendary. Not about individual survival, the recording repeated, about giving humanity a chance. Scientific research teams continued to study the technology used during the invasion. The experimental pulse generators developed by Kang Hyuk became the foundation of entirely new communication technologies. What was once a desperate weapon became a tool of peaceful communication. Earth had changed. The invasion had forced humanity to evolve quickly. Cities were now built with multiple defensive layers. Every citizen understood the importance of adaptation. Technology was important, but human spirit was crucial. The museum walls displayed personal stories, letters from families of the Mosquito bomber pilots, technical diagrams showing impossible modifications, pieces of the original aircraft, each with its own story of survival. Young students learned about Major Park Ji-won not as a military hero, but as a symbol of human potential. Her approach wasn't about destruction, but about finding unexpected solutions. She had shown that creativity could be more powerful than any weapon. Alien civilizations began requesting human consultants. They wanted to understand the unique human approach to problem solving. Military strategists, engineers, and philosophers from Earth were now in high demand across multiple star systems. The legacy of the Mosquito bombers was more than a military victory. It was a statement about the human spirit, a reminder that being small didn't mean being weak, that innovation could overcome seemingly impossible challenges. In the museum, children touched the damaged bomber, imagining the brave pilots who had saved humanity. Their teachers explained how 6 aircraft and a group of determined humans had changed the course of galactic history. An inscription near the aircraft captured the essence of their victory. Not by the perfection of our machines, but by the spirit within us. The Galactic Council had a new understanding of humanity. No longer were they seen as a young, primitive civilization. They were recognized as a species with incredible potential, capable of turning impossible situations into moments of triumph. Major Park Ji-won's final mission had become more than a military operation. It was a legend, a story told across multiple worlds, a testament to human creativity and determination. As the sun set over New Seoul, the damaged Mosquito bomber stood silent in the museum. A reminder that sometimes the most powerful weapon is not technology, but the unbreakable human spirit that refuses to be defeated. The legacy continued. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not through conquest, but through an unexpected, unpredictable approach that no one saw coming.